Okay, sorry.
White Walker!
One more time, or? Okay, so.
Okay, stop blowing the horn now.
Sorry.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Why Fandom Matters live stream. That might have been my fault. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Why Fandom Matters live stream. Hey, look, no more echo. It must have been me. Thanks, everybody, for coming. We're just going to run through introductions real quick, and we'll jump into the conversation. So I'm going to start to the left of my screen with Amanda, Crowfood's daughter. Amanda, hello and welcome.
Well, hi. Thanks for having me, Stephen. My name's Amanda. I go by Crowfood's daughter, and I have a YouTube channel. It's called The Disputed Lands. And thanks for having me. I actually kind of asked to be on this, so thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Next, we have Emilio. Why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Emilio. I also go by Stanis Arcanine on both Twitter and YouTube. I'm happy to be here, and it's always a pleasure to be with you, Milena, and Stephen. And I'm a big fan of Amanda and Emma too.
Next for me is Emma. Emma, hello, welcome.
Hello, I'm Emma. I go by ELSmith1994 on Twitter, and you can find my A Song of Ice and Fire symbolism writing-y goodness on redmiceatplay.wordpress.com. So thank you for having me on, Stephen, and it's lovely to see all of the fellow streamers.
Thanks for coming, Emma, and all of the relevant links are in the description, y'all, so should be able to find everybody here pretty easily. And Emilio, I meant to say hola y bienvenido to you. But
Gracias.
De nada, señor. But we'll move on to JR. JR, hello and welcome. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. I'm JR from Geek Chat One, both on YouTube and on the Facebook group. And we talk about fandoms and everything else. But Stephen invited me on specifically to talk about fandom, so I was super excited about that. And great to see everybody on the panel. I've been following pretty much everybody and have met only Amanda and Stephen. So nice to meet you all and see you all. And thanks for having me.
Well, it's very cool to have you here. And yeah, when I had the idea for this stream, you were one of the first people I thought of, just based on what it is that you do. And last but certainly not least, Milena wait a minute. Pozdrov I dobrodošli.
Oh, wow, Steven. Voila, thank you.
Why don't you introduce yourself?
That was very good. That was very good.
I practiced for 3 days to get that right.
Thank you. I'm really flattered. Hi, I'm Milena. I'm on Twitter as MimaMBG38, and I'm basically a member of the fandom. And I'm very glad to be with all of you tonight.
And Milena, you're working on an essay right now, is that right?
Yes, that's now became 2 essays. So I hope that will be finished soon. I'm a little nervous. Basically, I earned my money as a copywriter, but when I write something that's really personal to me like this I'm really nervous to release it. So we'll see. I hope really soon.
Well, I'm sure we're all looking forward to that.
Thank you.
But so hello to the panel. Hello to everyone in the chat. There's a lot of great folks I've already seen in the chat. I'm going to kick this off with, for those of you that are used to a structured, scripted sort of live stream like History of Westeros or Lucifer Means Lightbringer does, that is not what Stephen does. Stephen is a free form, free spirit, chaotic good, unstructured type of conversation. And I really just wanted to sit down and have a conversation with friends about this thing that matters to me so much. And I really kind of, through what we're doing, would like to get to the heart of why does it matter so much, which is why fandom matters. My super secret guest is going to be showing up soon too, for the record. Got two more coming. Mel and my secret guest. But so that being said, why does fandom matter? That's going to mean something different to everyone. It's going to mean one thing to me and something different to every panelist and everybody in the chat, everybody watching this. But for me, and I'll lead off with this, the fandom is the way that I feel like I get to express the things I care about the most. I have a lot of really varied interests, and only in my fandom do I see them intersect. And through the fandom interactions that I have, I'm drawn to other things like mythical astronomy. LML's channel has brought many of us here together. I'm a bona fide myth head, and so are most of my panelists, if not all of them. But I was never a symbolism person. I mean, I'm a scientist-minded, engineering-minded type of person. The symbolism deconstruction that happens out there is amazing, and I've learned so much, and it's just been a fantastic opportunity. And there's not a person sitting on this panel with me right now that I would know without a strong fan community. So with that being said, I'd just like to open it up for anybody who has initial thoughts on what their fandom means to them.
Well, it was funny when I was getting ready for this, it started turning into a really introspective thing for me. And why do fandoms matter so much? So it was kind of a very self-reflective for me. And kind of the bottom line conclusion that I came to was that a fandom gives us an escape when we're actually stagnant.
I like that idea. All right, everyone. I'm ready to introduce my the super secret guest I've been hyping up. And there she is. Say hello.
Hello.
This is my daughter. Anybody who knows her name, first person that gets it right in the chat gets a cookie. I've said my daughter's name before, so see who's been paying attention. But there's a hint. She's named after a famous movie character. Right?
I hope so.
You hope so. So, anybody else got any initial thoughts on why fandom matters to them?
Well, I think that for basically everybody, it's just they have their own personal story. It can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. But for me personally, I came to the fandom about 5 years ago or so. I had watched the TV show and I had saw a theory online. I was just going through a search engine and looking at stuff, and I ended up on Winterfell Hughes Class. And I don't know if any of you all are familiar with Winterfell Hughes Class, but it has nothing to do with the show, and it was about the books. And it had these incredibly detailed and just really theories that I wanted to know more about, and I knew nothing about because I was only a show watcher. So I read the books, and pretty soon I wanted to write my own theories. And so I ended up in the fan forums, and that's where I met a lot of my friends that are in the fandom, was actually initially in the fan forums. And so you learn a lot of different things once you actually are there and interacting with everybody else. And it's just interesting to see how your relationships grow and how your relationship with the fandom itself kind of grows and matures. And so that's kind of how it is for me. But it's especially a great outlet for me because I'm introverted and I move a lot. So I have a hard time making friends because I'm not very outgoing. And so it was just a place where I could go and I could interact with people, and people who actually shared the same kind of things that were interested me, because it's hard to find somebody who's interested in mythology or a book series just from,
Unless
people.
they're a big nerd.
Unless they're what?
Unless they're a big nerd.
Yes, unless they're a big nerd, which can be hard to find. So.
But I think that's why, circling back, that's why fandom matters, because it allows us to connect with each other. And granted, most everybody here is going to be a Song of Ice and Fire fans. That tends to be most the circle that I run in. But my fandoms are wide and varied, and they cover everything you can think of. I mean, what was Avatar: The Last Airbender? My daughter got me into that, and it was awesome. If you've never seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I might actually do a Buffy the Vampire Slayer stream to convince.
Buffy was great. I'm a huge Joss Whedon fan. Yeah, and Firefly was another favorite fandom.
Yes.
Yeah. Avatar: The Last Airbender. I mean, who doesn't love Star Wars? I don't love it like I used to.
What was everybody's first fandom?
I mean, I don't know.
Comic books, we kind of all probably have somewhat in common. But like, for me, it was Star Wars. That was my first fandom. I was like, this is amazing.
I was kind of like Pokemon, Star Wars, and and basically it, and Nintendo games. I'm not into video games right now as much as I used to be when I was a kid. Mainly because I don't have good reflexes, so I kind of like only play RPGs. But I actually kind of completed Dark Souls 1 a month ago, which was like a whole ordeal for me.
Man, Dark
Souls was crazy.
Because I have like the coordination of a 10-year-old child, so so I was all the time like drinking the Estus flash because I was dying left and right. Basically, I had notes like for the whole battle, and I mean, my mind is like the asset I had there. But kind of like one of the best fandom besides Asoyaf, and it was like JoJo Bizarre Adventure for me. In which kind of like, even when we say like there's theories that like you don't like as a person, or like you don't find that they kind of go against the narrative, or like a narrative sense, like people are very polite about it and they are like, no, and they explain the reasons. And exactly kind of like what we see with both LML, Aziz, and Gemma, we kind of have like these kind of like these persons that these mentors to introduce like the newer members kind of. And I'm a latecomer to the fandom because I read the books like 3 years ago, but I wasn't in like the fandom most of the time. I kind of like started with the audiobooks. So I mean, it's great that we have like in both of these fandoms, these kind of like mentors to kind of like say like what to introduce new members and to set kind of like some, in a way, ethical and behavioral standards for the community. And
yeah, and our the community or fandom seems to be pretty good at that. You know, toxic fandom is something I intend to talk about later, but I'm trying to show off my dogs. This is Xander. The other one is Willow. So for you Buffy fans out there, you should recognize Xander and Willow.
I was going to say that sounded awfully familiar.
Right. So what are your favorite fandoms?
Oh, geez. I kind of, it's all over the place for me, really, because I love everything. I mean, between Game of Thrones to almost any anime out there, to video games, to the original Pokemons. I like, yeah, you know, it's, my fandoms just kind of range from everything, because, I mean, it's, sometimes I get a little critical on some things, and like, I don't like it because it's not similar to this, not similar to what I expected, but I try to give everything a fair chance and decide whether or not I really like it. I think if I had to have, like, the first fandom or anything that I really became obsessed with, was definitely Red Dead Redemption and Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah, I see somebody mentioned Firefly, which is another Joss Whedon classic. For those of you that haven't seen Firefly, you're nerding incorrectly. I'm just saying.
Is there a way to nerd incorrectly though? Is there a way to geek incorrectly?
I'm not watching Firefly.
I mean, you're right. There should be no qualifiers. You know, fandom shouldn't have qualifiers. You're right. But personal opinion, if you haven't seen Firefly,
it's worth the watch.
You really should do yourself a favor and watch it.
It is very much worth the watch. I agree. I'm totally a brown coat.
That sounds a little weird here, but even PBS Kids made an announcement that Firefly should have gotten a second season. If PBS Kids does it, it must be true.
Absolutely true. I couldn't agree more. And a movie was a close second, but still not the same.
So this is my daughter. My older brother Scott just popped into the chat. Hi, Scott. And he's right. He does know the answer to the trick question that nobody's guessed your name yet. I've been watching. She's named after a princess.
And it's not Poppy from Trolls.
It's not no.
What's the hair for that?
Oh, crap. Gemma. Hi, Gemma. Thanks for coming by. Gemma from Secrets of the Citadels is in the chat. Hello.
Yeah, she actually was disappointed that she couldn't come on because she can't get the good Wi-Fi room at her house because everybody's home.
Somebody's got Buttercup, Arwen, Fiona, Zelda. Alora, that's it. The prince that wasn't promised. You win a cookie. You spelled it wrong, but her name is Elora Stark. Oh, yeah, and for the record, Stark, real last name. I know people are like, think it's fake.
Yeah,
the fandom, but it's really. I grew up as a Stark. I
grew up a Stark of Winterfell. What are you talking about?
I grew up a Stark of suburban Dallas, but it's nowhere. It's nothing like the North. It's extremely hot here.
We wound up on the wrong end.
I mean, it's kind of like one of these things that that kind of like you see, like if you have like these extensive families and you have like these stories, because my family, like Littlefinger and like the Brabosi, kind of like remind me of my family, because my family on my father's side, they were Jewish bankers, so they actually like bankrolled the Trastamara, and like then the Catholic kings like expulsed us, so like threw us away. So kind of, I mean, we kind of made a blunder there, but I mean, it's kind of like in the Roy Nation, like you see like these things because George doesn't do one-on-ones, and when you're like an important part of the fandom is like to have an heterogeneous community, because if we have like an homogeneous community, like GR was saying, we're stagnant. Then we don't have new ideas, which is kind of like George treated that in another novel. I can't say the name now, but basically it was saying that like where there's incest, like another problem of incest is not like just like the variability of blood. It's that there's also an stagnament of ideas, because like everyone comes from the same background, so there's not an exchange. And kind of like for a fandom, that's important, like the exchange. Like we need new members, we need new people coming in, and everyone. And I tend to say this, like, I mean, there are wrong takes, but like, don't be afraid to have one. I have like and Emma can say it, like I've been wrong multiple times about it, and that there's nothing wrong about being wrong. You just learn and try your best next time, and that's it. I mean, a bad idea can be as beneficial to a fandom most of the time as a good idea, in my opinion. I mean, I'll let someone else talk about something now.
I think you raised quite an interesting point, and something that's I've found interesting or useful about fandom is that when I read, I never thought about, for instance, feminist gender theory or about racial issues and the issues of representation in fandom. Like I found some excellent people on, in particular, like Tumblr and things that specifically deal with issues of representation of gender that I would never have consciously thought about or gone away and researched. And that has now, I feel, developed me into a person who's much more aware of important issues like representation of minority groups, which is, I think, a key aspect of getting involved in fandom, is sort of challenging yourself and your own preconceptions.
Looks like we lost Amanda, but just to follow on what you were saying there, Emma, I couldn't agree more. And I'm literally thinking about two ladies in particular, Melanie Lot 7 and Baal the Bard, also known as Gretchen Ellis. Excuse me. They both have excellent essays about women, silenced women in Westeros, and it has done more for my awareness of women's issues and representation than probably any other single piece of content that I've consumed throughout my life. And I have this fandom to thank for that, which, that goes to what Emilio was saying just a moment ago. We're not all the same. Everybody has a different point of view, and that representation is important, not only because it's really nice to see yourself, but it's also really nice to put yourself in someone else's shoes and to have, like you were saying, I have a bit of a reputation in the fandom as being the guy that will tell you why your theory is wrong. People send me their early theory drafts, and I'm like, I can poke holes in this and that and this and that, and this is why that doesn't work. But I'm still going to smile, and some people, matter of fact, my friend Kurt Outer Panda, he's in the chat right now. He had a theory and he brought it to me, and I poked holes in it, and he's gone back to the drawing board. And when he comes back, I'm sure it's going to be way, way better. And this is my D&D buddy. We played D&D 2 days ago together, which is why we missed your live stream that day, JR. You literally scheduled it exactly the same.
Hey, campaigns come first, man. I totally understand. Campaigns come first.
Right. But with the way the fan community has sort of brought new ideas to me and made me feel like I'm a more well-rounded person, just from this in their books. I mean, come on, they're books. But
they are books, but it's a bit of a misnomer to say that they're just books.
I guess you're right about that, because
they're more than books.
I almost deify GRRM in some ways. He is so. It's so crazy for how layered it is. Because I read the books first in 2011, right at the end of 2011. The first season was out. I read the first 4 books, got a hold of book 5 maybe a few months after that. But I read the first 4 back to back to back to back. Eat, sleep, work, read a book. That was it until I finished A Feast for Crows. And I was like, great. Got on the show, really enjoyed the show. Somehow came across that R plus L equals J thing and started looking into that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's this whole other layer here. And then you peel back the layer beneath that, which is people going R plus L equals D. And then you peel away the layer beneath that, which is no, it's actually R plus L equals J. And then you get the next layer, which is oh, it's actually a Nissa Azor Ahai parallel. And but you have to read it 7 times to get there. And I've never encountered anything like that, which is why we have the smartest people in our family.
Well, I would agree that, and I don't like saying that because I think all fandoms are inherently smart because of the material that is present for it. But yeah, no, A Song of Ice and Fire readers are something else.
And I'm not trying to hate on anybody who's just a show watcher and hasn't read the books. You should engage whatever fandom you have, however you love it. As long as you're not hurting anybody and telling anybody else they're wrong, what do I care what you love? But I do feel that the book readers, the people who get it, they see that, there's all this violence and stuff, and they're not like, woohoo, blood and guts. They're like, oh no, this is a story about why violence is terrible. They see the way the women are treated in so many situations, and they're like, yeah, they're not thinking, yeah, get in your place, woman. No, they're thinking George is using this to show us why this is despicable. And a lot of us have kind of gravitated into this circle here, which is, look at Star Wars. Look at what the Star Wars fandom is going through right now. It tore itself in half, more or less. And
I'm sorry, just to get what you're saying about the reading the books and fandom. I get this notion when I read the books the first time, like 7-8 years ago. It was completely the different books because of the fandom. Now, when I read it, they are completely different. First time I read it, it was just an interesting fantasy story. I liked it, and that was one thing. Nowadays, when I know about all this theory, where I have all my theories and stuff like that, it's completely different stories. I'm rereading The Fire and Blood the second time, and it's not like when I read the first time Game of Thrones book. It's different, different feeling, different. You expecting more from the book than you expected first time you read it. Before I, for instance, didn't know about fandom, about anything, about theories, about that there is something more underneath the surface of the story.
Yeah, I agree. Anybody else got anything to say about that sort of idea before I get into the next point? Go ahead, Emilio.
Kind of like in the fandom, when like kind of like one of like the aspects like that I don't think we talk about enough in this fandom, and kind of like when people like don't like a character because he's not like for example the hero of the story, or like he's actually like gonna die or something like that, they say like, well, Aegon is fake and things like that. And I think the most important characters, like not in a narrative sense, but like are also like those that are not just not like the chosen one, those that are gonna fail. Kind of like in my I don't think I would be like the, how do you say, like the chosen one. I don't think I would be the hero of the story. I'm the hero of my own story. But I think, for example, kind of like we have to remember that like one of the first characters that George kills is Viserys. Like he kind of kills him because he says like, well, magical bloodlines are not that important, guys. And kind of goes into what we were talking about, R plus L equals J, and like all those theories, and about Dany's origins, which I don't think they are bad in a way like the alternative theories. I just think like in a narrative sense, they are not, as they don't have that narrative, they don't take account of the narrative impact, because it makes more impact that well, Jon is like is the progeny of Rhaegar, like, but Ned was his father. I don't think like in a way that Jon would be the prince that was promised, like the hero of the story in a way, if he was raised by Rhaegar, in my own opinion, or if Daenerys would have like been born as a queen who would have inherited. In a way, I don't think like that would have worked out. And kind of goes into like what we were talking with GR about like Stannis. He says like, well, kind of like my opinion is that he's not the right king. But like we're seeing characters that like they have to grow. Daenerys is not like Daenerys is not there to be like the perfect to be a good queen. But I think she will rise. She will learn, and that's the important thing. And kind of she's making mistakes, she's digging holes and getting up there. And in a way, that's like what we say, like, why did Stannis live so long? I think he has some kind of like, because in an utilitarian sense, he has some kind of moral excellency, kind of like this behavioral, where like what he's gonna die because he doesn't have like the bloodline, which I think George equates to talent. And it's kind of like a kind of a way to say like talent in the real world. And I think you both need the talent and like the great character as a whole. And 1 minute, sorry. What we were talking about, like this thing. I'm sorry. I know. I think if he killed Viserys first and he let Stannis live for so much, it's because he said like, well, these two characters, like if you look at these two characters, Stannis is like this person that we are told he's false. He doesn't have the right blood. And then we have this other person who's like Viserys, who has kind of like this right blood, and he dies. And in a way, like we're kind of like in, like for example, Aegon is a revolutionary character that I'm not gonna talk about him being on the show, but like he's underappreciated by the fandom because he's this whole thesis that GRRM has on feudalism, and I'm sorry, and paternity and the whole Varys speech. And I will stop now, and someone can speak about the fandom or something.
I want to hear what Amanda has to say. She's been in and out a little bit, and she's in right now. We better get some good.
So I've actually missed a lot of that because my technology has been kicking me off of this live stream. So I'm actually just coming in on the end of that conversation. So if you want to just reiterate what you guys were talking about, I'd love to speak on it.
Before Emilio loved on Stannis, as per usual, I expect nothing less from you, my friend. Sorry, yeah. Before, oh geez, it completely derailed me. We were talking about the importance of representation and how that's how the fandom, specifically our little corner of the fandom tends to attract a certain type of individual that's, for lack of a better term, woke, I guess.
Yeah, I
God,
mean,
I love that term.
I could see that. I could definitely see that. So what Lucifer Means Lightbringer does, and what I try to do is incorporate things that might have inspired the author. And the author is very, very influenced by things like mythology and legends and stories. And so in order to kind of fully grasp everything, you have to understand things like, you know, the morning star and even star mythology. You have to understand, you know, the reaching for the fire of the gods. You have to understand about, you know, these different gods and goddesses and how they interrelate. And you kind of have to understand them from a comparative mythology lens, which is something that David talks about when he talks about Joseph Campbell. He does comparative mythology. And you can see that done with a lot of these fertility gods. A lot of people like to look at fertility gods when they're doing comparative mythology. And that's something that Sir James Frazer did with the Golden Bough. So you have to be like on a different level of nerd in order to want to seek that out. But anyway, I'm just glad to be a part of it. It's great. And
you're more than just a part of it. By the ladies in my life had to get in there we had to all get in our.
Hi.
But you're more than just a part of it, Amanda. I think you're one of the driving forces behind a certain part of what the fandom has been looking into lately, especially with deep mythology. You know, things like the Grayscale, the Great King. You know, all that Ironborn mythology and stuff that you do is fantastic. And I'm sure everybody is there. Everybody there is already, and she's gone. Oh, well, but I'm sure everybody here has already watched everything Amanda's done. And if you're in the chat and you haven't, do yourself a favor and go check her out because her stuff is great with a capital G. Okay, I'm off camera now.
Something I just wanted to pick up on, sort of slightly building on the sort of tropes that Emilio was picking out, was the way that I think it's quite interesting to see how the fandom goes back and reassesses its own history and sort of revises its interpretations of the books. So you have a look at how poorly received A Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons were, and then you get quite a lot of sort of revisionary analysis, which sort of reanalyzes it from the point of view of, well, what is George R. R. Martin trying to do with these characters? Oh, look, Quentin is a failed last hero. Like, his entire purpose is to show us what it is like when, you know, like how these last hero tropes or the hero's journey tropes are superficial. They are false in a way. Same with Aegon / Young Griff / Blackflyer.
Just don't call him Fagon. I actually don't.
I do not call him Fagon. Purely because of poor Quentin's analysis, that is.
Everybody say happy birthday to LML. He's in the chat right now. Happy birthday, my man.
Happy birthday.
I hope it's a good
Happy
one.
name day.
Happy birthday.
And I made a promise yesterday that if he came to my stream, I would sing the parody for All Star written by Lady Shar. So I'm gonna get some music for it so I have something to listen to while I do it. But I'm gonna sing this parody of All Star by Lady Shar, at least the first verse. Happy birthday, LML. Oh geez. Somebody cover for me for 2 minutes while I find this.
Hi, everybody.
Okay.
So I guess I can bang on for a minute. You still need time, Steven?
No, I think I'm ready.
Oh, okay. Well, if you're ready, then by all means.
Okay. I know you can't hear it, but it's just for me. It's the intro music bit. Come on. What is with this?
World's longest intro.
Here we go. Somebody once told me the world was gonna owe me, that everyone would bend at the knee. He was looking kinda dumb with the rings on both his thumbs, but my blood of the dragon was key. Well, the dragon is coming, and I think that I'm running. Sold for... Oh, God. These are so fast.
And you hit the ground running?
Yeah.
Did it make sense not to live for?
Well, the dragon is coming, and I think that I'm cunning. Sold all your items, and I hit the ground running. I hid 4 years, and I lived undercover. My brain got crazy, and my head got dumber. Out the window, a lemon tree. My center loves it, but why not me? I'll never know if I don't go. Go! So I'll deal with Illyrio. Hey, now, I'm a dead targ. Trust Illyrio was betrayed. Hey, now, I'm a dead targ. My sister, though, will get laid. She'll have all that glitter so cold. It was shooting stars that broke the moon. Okay, my apologies. I'm going off. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you and good night.
I kind of want to say something that, like, flaws are underappreciated on a sense, like in every fandom. And like, for example, like the song Steven was making, if he wouldn't have blundered, it wouldn't have been so funny in a way. And kind of like, for example, don't be afraid to say like something you love has flaws.
Right.
Because I don't think, like, for example, when a test to know if you love someone is if you can say not only like things you like about her, but also flaws. Because like if you don't know flaws about something, then that's adoration only.
Well,
that's not love.
The person that thinks they know it all, well, they do, because they're never going to learn anything new. And like finding your flaws is how you improve yourself.
Right. I mean, that's know yourself and seek self-improvement, right? Which I think everybody would actually benefit from.
I'm sorry, say that again, Jay. I didn't quite hear you.
I said, know yourself and seek self-improvement. It's kind of a great place for everybody to retrospectively look at themselves and look forward.
And the fandom is sort of, again,
it's an allegory or a mirror.
Right. It always comes back to that for me, especially like in my life, I get up, I go to work, I come home, I'm home. I don't go hang out with friends and stuff. If I'm going to the movies to watch a Marvel movie, I'm going with my daughter or my mom. Seriously, my mom's a big nerd too. She's more Star Trek than anything, but she's a cool lady. But like this is my social circle. My social circle happens on Twitter, and in the chat section on Sunday afternoons on LNL's channel, or Tuesdays over at Aziz's channel. You know, and I get something from it that I've literally never gotten anywhere else in the world. And I guess this is going to be me delving a little bit more into my personal fandom story. So, like, I have social anxiety disorder. I try to be very open about that because I think it's, you know, understanding why I sometimes act a little bit off is helpful for people. Sometimes I just like, nope, gotta go, bye, and I'm gone. Social anxiety disorder is a pain in the ass. But like, if you ever been to Con of Thrones, there were 5,000 people there, and I was with 5,000 quote unquote strangers, but they were my people, and my social anxiety did not flare up once the whole weekend. And
It's your tribe.
Right, exactly. This is, and this is something I've literally never had before. You know, I've had close friends throughout my life, but you know, my close friends were the kids that I played ball with in the street, you know, when I was little, or they were the people that lived, you know, in the same apartment complex as me, and they also played Dungeons and Dragons, so we played together. You know, these were the people that I was close with. But like, as far as like, oh no, this is something I'm truly, madly, deeply in love with, and there's this whole group of people that's truly, madly, deeply in love with the same thing, but from a completely different angle, and then I get to love it through their lens, and maybe they get to love it through mine because people who are doing the symbolic stuff, I love it, but I'm never going to get there. But like, when you start talking about the philosophies and Kant and the way Freud and Jung can be reflected in certain ideas in Song of Ice and Fire, I get a little more steady there. You want to talk about why the wall can't exist and must be magical? I got you. My engineering mind will get there, and I would love to talk to anybody about that. But the direction I come at everything is very scientific. I one of those that has to constantly remind myself this is not secretly a science fiction story. George plays with a lot of sci-fi elements in the way he writes and the ideas he's talking about, but I'm like, this is not a science fiction story. This is fantasy.
Right, and it's high fantasy at that. I mean, it's super high end on the fantasy. For most people that don't like fantasy, like this is even way beyond that, which is funny because it starts at a place of really like a really low grade fantasy, right? It's almost a historical narrative of what Middle Ages would be like, right? It's kind of where it starts at. You know, there are no snarks and grumpkins and White Walkers and all the other things that your wet nurse told you about. You know, it starts off with that position of making fun of all of it, and then it travels on into this massively epic high fantasy, which is kind of unique. It's an interesting place for it to start. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It reminds me of the honest trailers for Game of Thrones. If you haven't seen them, they're really funny. But
yeah,
like in the second volume, I guess it's like season 4 and 5 stuff that they're talking about, and they say, gone is the gritty, dark and gritty realism of seasons 1 through 3, and now we have like heavy metal album art cover. Dragons and fire and zombies everywhere, and it's the apocalypse. It's hilarious.
Yeah, that's basically what A Song of Ice and Fire is at some level, I suppose.
Have you all seen the medieval Fantasyland Game of Thrones?
Yes.
As well. That's hilarious.
Well, and again, that's more just the fandom doing what the fandom does. The fact that honest trailers and bad lip reading are fans of the show too. And I know that honest trailers are somebody over there has read the books, because I think that's where I first heard R + L = J, which is definitely a book thing.
And then like Access of Awesome, has anybody ever seen their music video? Oh my god, that one is hilarious. Those guys are big fans of the books and the show, but they made a parody of it, and it's absolutely hysterical.
I think this goes to sort of like how wide fandom can go. Like everyone who interacts with it has something to contribute, be it like, you know, hilarious videos or in-depth analysis or like fan art. Obviously, huge shout out to Sam Rixian there, because her artwork's amazing. So is Vanessa Coles. There's so many people out there that are doing amazing visual representations of various different scenes in sort of the books and the show. And I have to give big props to them, because my 20,000 word essay.
Sorry, Emma, I need to interrupt you.
Oh.
Yep, LML, you're welcome. Go ahead, Emma.
Yeah, so they're I've lost my train of thought. Artwork.
I got you.
People are doing artworky things. Everyone's got a role to play in fandom, basically, and everyone can bring their talents and contribute something absolutely amazing that everyone can appreciate.
You spoke the name of Sanrixian, and she appeared in the chat. Hi, Sanri.
Oh,
how you doing?
I summoned her.
No, but kind of like on what you guys were talking about in fantasy, that George said that like he just sees it as furniture rules. Like he kind of sees it like a setting, as the setting. He doesn't mind that much, and in a way, I don't think it's sci-fi, and it's important to know that, because narratively there's more impact in it being magic, because there's the theme of like magic is this force that, unlike technology, you don't know nothing about. Like you cannot, like, it's a sword you don't like how do you say, like one of the oh fuck, I'm losing my speech. It's a sword that you kind of lose, like you don't know where to grasp it. So it's a sword without a hilt. Yeah, okay, that's a word. And basically it's like this thing where we have like, we don't know what we're doing, and that's what he's saying, like Quaith, and like to this stuff, everyone doesn't know what he's playing with. And also kind of like, even if the whole story were to be like there were secret robots or everything, it will still be fantasy in a way, because Michael Moorcock, Black Hawk, and like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, they are considered both fantasy, and like the everything, their origin is technology of like everything. It's not the case for us, for Yav.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Basically,
we have been joined by the illustrious Melanie Lot 7. Hello and welcome. Now, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good. Oh my gosh, sorry, I've been like pounding the keyboard here. Sorry, I forgot to mute myself. How's everybody doing?
We're doing great. Why don't you introduce yourself real quick and tell everybody where you're from? Everybody probably knows you, but it doesn't hurt to have it said. And while she's doing that, everybody don't forget to hit that like button.
Yes, hit the like button. Oh my gosh. Hey, it's me, Melanie Lot 7, and you guys might know me from Twitteros. I'm Melanie Lot 7, the number not spelled out, on Twitter. And I also have a YouTube channel also called Melanie Lot 7, and a WordPress site that has 2 essays, and hopefully there'll soon be more. But yeah, that's me, and I'm happy to be part of this fandom. I absolutely love it. You guys are all just great. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, I'm glad you made it. How was work?
Work was definitely work-like.
Right.
For those of you who don't know, I run a home daycare, and I have lots of kids running around all the time, and it's crazy and wild every single day.
I did not know that. You are a much braver woman than I.
It's 6 against 1. The odds are against me every day.
So, Melanie, we've had some great discussion. We've kind of covered, like, you got a name drop earlier because we were discussing how this fandom in particular has a tendency to attract a little bit more of the thinking person.
I agree.
Like, and not just smart people, because there's smart people in any fandom, as somebody pointed out, but like a tendency for those in this fandom to want to be accepting and inclusive and welcoming. And that's probably part of why I fell into it so readily.
Yeah, I definitely agree that it attracts a thinking person, because I think that George's work operates on so many different levels. I mean, you got the people that enter into the fandom because of the show. You have people that enter into the fandom because they watch the show and then they come into the books and then they're into the plot of the books. You have people that come into the fandom because they like analyzing the wars and politics, like, you know, Brendan Beefish and everybody. And then you have people like us crazy myth heads who like analyzing for symbolism and, you know, comparative mythology. And so, you know, I think part of it is the complexity of the appeal. You know, it operates on so many different levels. And I think that's, you know, it's like an onion, just like the Shrek. Like I need like the Shrek.gif thing about the onion layers. Yeah, there's just so many layers to it. That
Yeah, like a parfait.
Yeah, like a parfait. Yeah, you've got the granola layer, and yeah. So yeah, I think
My
that's
daughter also points out that cake has layers.
also layers. 9-layer cake. Ooh.
7-layer dip. Who knows?
I don't know.
We have a tiramisu of a story.
Okay, at the risk of hopefully not alienating anyone, I think I'm going to talk about toxic fandom, and I want everybody to have an opportunity to say, and I'm sure the ladies have more to say than us white guys do, but I want you to talk about if you've encountered some of that so far, and how did you handle that? But I'll start off with, I think there is a way to approach toxic fandom that is healthy, but, oh, my dog is freaking out. I'm going to show, this is Willow, by the way.
Hello, small Willow.
Yeah.
So tiny yet so grunty.
Get out of here. She's a good dog. I think there's a healthy way to deal with fandom toxicity, but it's definitely not easy. And, you know, I'm a heteronormative white guy in America. I have it about as easy on the internet as anybody can have it. And I recognize that. My daughters have encountered some stuff. You've done some modeling work, and I know that you've gotten some pretty ugly comments before. So does anybody want to ring in with their thoughts on fandom toxicity, or shall I just jump in?
I want to hear your thoughts, but yeah, I've got something to say too. So
okay, I think that a lot of the toxicity stems from, well, there's two major contributing factors. One is the anonymity, and that's something we deal with everywhere we go on the internet, because nobody ever screams in your face about how terrible The Last Jedi was at Walmart, you know. Well, maybe at Walmart, but not.
I think it really depends on the Walmart you're going to, honestly. Let's be real honest about that.
My daughter works at Walmart, so I'm messing with her a little bit. But I think the other half is people have these expectations of what they want to happen, and choosing to have a conversation, and rather than engaging in like being either dismissive or combative, you know, try to understand why this person has this idea about, oh, The Last Jedi is just this blah, 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 terrible thing. And I'm like, well, why do you feel that way? And it usually comes down to, it didn't meet my expectations. And, you know, maybe a person who can get to that, maybe they can be reasoned with, to the point of, you know, an author or an artist is not beholden to meet the expectations of the viewer. They're beholden to meet their own artistic vision.
I agree with that, but I didn't like The Last Jedi. I thought Force Awakens was great, but The Last Jedi, I think, was a bad movie.
Okay.
It's even more tragic that it's a bad Star Wars movie to me.
And I will actually direct you to I have a friend, we play D&D together. His name is he goes by an enemy spy on Twitter, and he live tweeted his watch through of The Last Jedi, and I'm also not the biggest fan. he is probably the biggest fan of The Last Jedi that I know of. And he made some really great analyses of that movie that has kind of changed the way I think about it.
It has great moments, but they're few and far between, unfortunately, and that's kind of what it comes down to. For me, it wasn't there. It didn't deliver. It's not that I don't need the Skywalkers or the Solos in a movie, right? I can get past the fact that they don't need to be in every single Star Wars movie. But to me, the problem with it was, and I think let me make this brief statement really quick. I think there's a huge difference between what happened with Captain Marvel and what happened with Last Jedi.
I haven't seen Captain Marvel yet, so no spoilers.
No spoilers, but just the toxic crap that's going on around Brie Larson and all that. Okay, so there's that side of it, I think, is complete garbage and shouldn't be there at all. I don't think it. Like, I'm sorry, there's a female lead, guys. I don't know if that's really a thing. In case you've been sleeping for like the last, 50 years, some things have happened in media and movies. There's a lot of strong female leads out there now, so you might need to get over that. Yeah. And that's kind of what the Brie Larson side and Captain Marvel side of it seems to be. They're just toxic and stupid about stupid things that shouldn't matter.
Look,
go ahead.
Whatever your opinions are about any individual piece of fandom, and I'm speaking to the chat right now, you're allowed to have your opinions, but we're here to celebrate. I'm trying to keep this positive. Don't bash something that you don't like, please. Let's keep the fandom. Let's keep the chat civil. Let's love what you love. If you don't like a thing, you're allowed to say, "I did not enjoy that," but don't tell somebody that.
Geek Chat 1 rules. Keep the politics out of it. Have an opinion, but don't attack an opinion.
Right. If you think it's bad, it's okay to say, "I didn't like it," but don't say it's terrible because somebody else is going to take that personally. Somebody who does like it.
Right, and there's room for all of it, and it's okay to have a disagreement, and I think that's what a lot of people have forgotten is it's okay to have a different opinion and to keep it separate.
It's making it personal. That is
right,
the
and
real
it's the personal
problem.
attacks that just make it awful.
Right.
Just so hard to even watch it go down on most social media platforms.
There's a huge difference between that thing you like, I didn't like, and that thing you like is bad.
Yes. Correct. That's what makes it personal. Mm-hmm.
And it shouldn't be there. It doesn't have to be there. I didn't like, so Last Jedi, for example, I didn't like it because for me, it changed what Star Wars was about, right? And Mel wasn't here for the first part of this, but really fantasy and fandoms like this is escapism at its finest. I mean, we're escaping to another land. We're going to another place to leave the troubles and tribulations of regular life behind. And so when you draw in the politics of the day and stuff like that, not that they don't have their place, but does it really belong in it when it's so overt and so just in your face about it? You go back to like X-Men being a euphemism for civil rights movements throughout the 60s and 70s, right? Like it was done in such a manner that it made you think about it, but it didn't punch you in the face with it. And that's unfortunately what a lot of people felt that Star Wars did. And it was punching you in the face with it. Like, yes, we can have strong female leads, but you don't have to punch us in the face with it. Yes, we can have African-American leads, but don't punch us in the face. I don't know. It's just kind of a weird thing.
Again, Emilio, go ahead.
No, like kind of, I don't think that in a way, like it is like in concept. And like the thing with it is that, for example, Rey and both The Last Jedi, in concept, they are not bad. They are not bad. They are good. Like, for example, like Rey is kind of like in the concept is better at the themes of equality that there is in Star Wars and at the themes. But the problem is that there is not, and this is not Daisy Ridley's fault. This is like the writer's fault. There's not a good execution of that because Star Wars is about growth, and she does some growth, and people are bashing that. But she's a good character. She's not a bad character. But like the thing is, like that growth, like the way they forecast that growth, it doesn't lead to like they don't do it in a satisfying way. Like that's my problem. And for example, I think Kylo, in a way, like I have cousins. that are like smaller people and that are younger, And kind of like for me, it's like more terrifying than Darth Vader, because if you have like a children, for example, or whatever, like you think he's gonna turn out in a bad way because he's trying to live to an expectation he cannot live up to. That's more terrifying than any villain you can conceive for me. And I think, like, in a way, like, the problem with Rey, like, is not about her, like, about basically the concept. The concept is extremely good. The problem is the execution. Like, it's okay. She's okay. It's okay that she knows how to defend herself. She should, if she's living in a desert alone for most of her life. The problem is that she instantly knows, like, everything about the Force, and that, I mean, it's more, and that's okay too. She could be a wounded Force. She's not the most powerful character we've seen in Star Wars by a milestone. She's there's a lot of characters that could kill her in seconds in the Star Wars universe. The problem is that I don't see, like, a satisfying growth, in my own opinion. And kind of goes into the whole, like, sentence that Stannis said, like, the adult thing is to, in my own opinion, is to say, like, the good doesn't wash out the bad. Like, if there's something bad about something, or that you consider bad, and it's your opinion, this is my opinion too. And I'm sorry, like, if I'm pissing someone off, and maybe I'm a blind person. I'm a male, so maybe, like, in my opinion in this is not as important. But, like, the good thing is, like, tell, like, what do you think is right with something, and what do you think is wrong, in a way. And that's, like, what you have to do.
I think that's a perfect
conversation.
I'm dying here.
I'm dying to hear the ladies chime in.
So I'm just going to chime in. You know, I think something that people lose sight of really fast is that we're all together enjoying this piece of art that other people have created. And when it comes to toxic fandom, going back to, you know, making it personal, like, we forget a lot of times, because of the anonymity, that we're all here to discuss this common piece of art, and it's okay to disagree about the art. I mean, some people look at a Jackson Pollock and they're like, it's fabulous. And other people are like, what a mess. And like you guys said, there's room for all of those impressions, and everybody, you know, has their own opinion. And one thing that I think about Star Wars, although I don't have any experience with it other than, like, the first 3 movies, like the original 3. And
3 anyway.
I'm sorry, I've been living under a rock here. And especially with Aswaf, something that I think makes it more liable to this toxic fandom is that people identify with the characters, like, identify personally, and they attach their own personal morals to the characters and their own, you know, like, personal values to the characters. And so when somebody says, if I identify with Melisandre and somebody's like, oh, Melisandre, ugh, I could be really personally hurt if I identify with her. And I think that people need to tread very carefully when they discuss liking or disliking a character, and keep it to the facts. Like, this is why I don't like the character. What do you think? And, like, just have a healthy discussion. Like, there's room for disagreement for sure, but there's no need to make personal attacks. And I think we do all need to keep in mind that it's...
Or associate the character to the person, right? Like,
exactly.
I don't naturally assume that a Cersei fan is sleeping with her brother.
Exactly.
Right? Like, it sounds so ridiculous, but why do we have to go to this ridiculous extreme to point out the stupidity of associating that? Like, it's mind-boggling and funny to me at the same time.
Agreed. Crazy. People are crazy.
Amanda, Milena, any of you have something to say?
Well, as far as toxic fandom goes, it's there. I mean, it is. One of the things that I noticed because earlier you were speaking about how there is a little bit of a difference between male and female fans. And when I notice on my YouTube channel, who actually watches my videos, the fandom, at least according to the ones that watch my videos, it's only between like 20 and 25% female, and the majority is male. And when I was first doing like forum posts and Reddit, there would be people that would assume that I'm male and would use male pronouns with me, even though I had like a username of Crowfood's daughter, just because they assumed that because you're in the fandom, you're most likely male. And that is kind of the, you know, it is predominantly male. It is. But I don't see it when it comes down to it. It's just that it's something that's kind of assumed. And so you have to, like, for example, a great one is Maester Mary. When she was on Twitter, we all thought she was a guy. We all, even though it said Maester Mary, like, she had a very ambiguous thumbnail, and we just thought she was a guy. We just assumed it because I don't know, but it's very interesting navigating this fandom as a female, because you do see that it is kind of male driven, which is okay. It's fine. But it's kind of nice to kind of figure out where your place is and understand how to navigate the fandom. And sometimes I'll even let people think that I'm a guy on Reddit if they start using the male pronouns, and be like, yeah, dude, you know, like that. But it is what it is. It's fine.
And I think sort of towards that, the sort of thing that this is where women and people of color need, specifically white guys, to sort of like step up, because if you are in a minority like group, like, then your voice is weighted as less. So that's where sort of allies, sort of either people with any sort of privilege whatsoever, to sort of step up and sort of either give women or people of color or any other sort of minority group sort of either representation, or if you see something in the fandom, like, call someone out for it. Just let people know, like, it is not okay to say rude things about other people.
Well, it's never okay to say rude things about anybody ever.
Yeah, but like, women and people of color just get it more, so it's just sort of like a bit. Obviously, always call everyone out for being an idiot, but
yeah, I tend to judge people on how much of an asshole they are. It's pretty much my standard. If you're an asshole, I'm going to be an asshole to you. It's kind of quid pro quo in that regard with me.
I prefer to maintain the moral high ground, but yeah, like,
yeah, well, yeah.
Qualifier for my interactions with anybody, like, there is one thing that's like, I like you or I don't. Really, literally only one, and that is, how do you treat the people around you? You know, if you treat the people around you well, I will probably like you a good deal. If you don't, I don't care if you're into the same fandoms I am, and you know, if you have a lot of the similar ideas. If you treat the people around you poorly, I'm not going to want to be, you know, I'm not going to want to have anything to do with you.
Kind of one thing I'm gonna say, and probably then Milena goes, like, kind of like, I came from a both Basque and kind of Jewish background, like kind of a fusion. And
did you say Basque?
In the end, yeah, my mother is Basque, which is it's kind of like they are white, but it's kind of like this whole tribal identity they had. So it kind of goes like with American people. I kind of have to explain them, like, yeah, I mean, maybe there's white privilege I have, but like, people called me when I was in a school, because my family was Basque, people called me a terrorist, or like when even when my family in, like, they're in the Basque country, they are like policemen, like those that they still live there, you know. So, and I still have to put up with Holocaust jokes and everything, and people like doing false equivalencies with Israel or things like that. Which, I mean, I don't care where you're standing, like, on that politics. Like, it's a whole complicated issue. It's not black and white, and there's blame on both sides. And I'm sorry, I'm not gonna get into politics anymore. But basically, like, if anyone is suffering discrimination in this fandom, I'm gonna defend him, and I'm gonna help him.
Let's step up for them, yeah.
yeah, but kind of like it's difficult for me to have to explain. Like sometimes I have to do this kind of emotion. I don't have to do the same amount as people of like African American descent and Asians and Indians. I don't have to do this like constant emotional labor, but I have to do like this whole like kind of explaining like why this is like racist. You bringing up if like if Jewish people are white or not. Like,
can I jump in really
because
quick, Emilio?
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
and
don't
say
worry,
something about that. So like one thing that I think people need to think about is that when people are being attacked like that, it's not always your job to explain why people shouldn't do that. And people who are allies will and should hop on and say something on your behalf, because it doesn't always have to be your job to educate people about that.
I mean, yes, but like in a way it's better if some people like say it, because you know, and I'm not attacking the Women's March. I think it's a wonderful movement, but like there were some people in there that were not representative of it, that were saying like anti-Semitic things, and like they only listened to Alisa Milano. They didn't listen to any Jewish guy ever. So kind of like we have this problem that because we have improved like our standing socially, like right now some people think it's okay to mess with us, and kind of like it also happens with Armenians because they are white, and like Basques, like if you're white, like then it's okay to discriminate, and it's not. That's like another point of view that I'm bringing. And I'm a very blind person, like in for example, like up to 3 years ago I didn't know like that the correct word for like, you know, for a sex worker was. I didn't know the term, and I know it now, and I'm trying to educate myself, and especially women and people of color tell me whatever, because I'm interested in learning about your culture, about like the issues you had. But like what you said, like it's difficult as a fandom because, for example, everywhere I go, like kind of like people start with the whole well, kind of like Dani in Marine is like Israel, like she just arrived, like it's like the war of the Yom Kippur, and like, well, the war of the Yom Kippur happened 30 years after Israeli people arrived there, you know, after Jewish people arrived there, which is a whole nother issue. And like you kind of like you have to check your sources when you are speaking about something, and it's kind of like difficult.
There tends to be a lot of false narrators out there, regardless of where it is, and they're not written as well as George R. R. Martin's are, right?
Yeah. So yeah, and it's kind of like it's difficult for me to explain that. Yes, I'm partly white, but only because my mother is. You know, like the other thing, I'm kind of like a Semite or Middle Eastern, like in an ethnic level.
Okay, guys. Milena has been sitting there quietly and patiently, and she's been chewing on it. I want to hear about Milena's culture now.
Well, I will lighten this up a little bit. I mean, if we go into my culture, then it will be different, totally darkened. But regarding the fandom and regarding the people on Twitter, I have this experience because I was taught at school when you discuss the book, you have right to your own opinion and you have to like stand for your opinions. So I have these situations because as Emilio, I'm a tennis lover and I have this tendency to say that Kathleen Stark isn't really the nicest person there. So I have few writings on Twitter with some people. And basically, I'm like always open for debate. But after a while, I saw that people really take it personally. So I'm trying to learn how to put the ball down, as they say. So not so much to okay, but this I always have these like quotes for books and stuff. But people are thinking okay, but you know, like Melanie said, they are identifying with the characters, but it's basically a book, and especially in this situation where we don't know how it ends, it can be whatever we basically want. So I'm always very much appreciative for any theories. I like to hear all kinds of theories, how no matter how much crazy they are, and that's something that I love about this. So it's very sad when people are getting like really hostile about things that supposed to make us feel good, and that's something I don't want. I want to avoid, and I want people to see that it's basically something that we can be better because of these books, not to divide us, sort of like stand. That's my opinion.
And just as a follow-on thought to that, that's picture perfect like example of why fandom matters. You've identified something that you feel like, oh, I could do better on this, and you wouldn't have without your fandom engagements, you know, without.
Yes, because like I have my culture to say. I mean, we are here all very stubborn people, Serbs, and we have to know best about everything. We are all best in politics, best in football, can do everything better than anybody else. So basically, we always have this tendency, and it's a cultural, because when we are talking with each other, we expect that for the other person. We don't take it like a bad thing. So I'm standing my ground, you're standing your ground, and we can do that like for a whole night while drinking, and tomorrow we'll be the best friends. But people around the world are much more sensitive to stuff like that. So basically, when I'm writing something, and to me it's like interesting and funny, and now we're like arguing, but I don't have like some bad intentions. It's just like, okay, let's see how much you are into it and how much I'm into it. But people get offended. So now I'm like, in past year or year and a half, as I'm engaged in this in Twitter, I'm pacing myself to say, oh, in one, okay, fine, that's like just we're like talking about the book. It's not like I don't want to offend anybody. I'm just like, okay, let's meet and let's have this battle about with ideas. So that's something that I think this should be all about, because these books and other books or like movies or stuff are there because of the ideas, and they're out there to teach us something. So if we don't take anything of it, they're just, well, what's the purpose? It's like art because of art itself, but this isn't. It's there to teach all of us something.
Works for me.
Very concisely put.
Thank you.
It is, and we don't, you know, it's okay to have disagreements, and I think that's part of what a lot of cultures have forgotten about. American culture certainly left it behind, that it's okay to have a disagreement and to argue in the true sense of the word. You present your facts as I know them, I'll present my facts as I know them, and we'll discuss the middle ground of it, right? The actual literal sense of argument. And we've gotten away from that, and it's kind of sad that we've moved to this personal attacking, mudslinging, everything. It's garbage. It's just not fun anymore.
I agree, but that's why, you know, I think the best fandom engagement is love what you love, not hate what you hate, you know?
Absolutely.
And I think people forget that we're all here to enjoy the same thing, and they forget to look for the commonalities that we all enjoy.
And it starts
just
with
focus on the negative stuff. Yeah.
Right.
It's like, yeah, we're not here to like completely pick it apart and like fight over it. We're here to enjoy the same thing. So like, let's find some middle ground where we can both find something that we like.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not hard.
And the art of the argument is kind of too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the problems with social media. What I loved last year was actually going to Con of Thrones and seeing everybody in person, because you did not get any of that. It was basically just everybody having an amazing time. And I haven't been to, I would love to go to Ice and Fire Con, but it's just not in the cards for me this year. But what I can say about Con of Thrones is that there was something for everybody. And everybody was having an amazing time. And for me, it was the epitome of what fandom is and should be. And so I'm really excited to see everybody this year. And I'll get to be meeting Emma and Melanie. And
I'm going to give you guys the biggest hug ever.
I know.
Yeah. Everybody out there, be jealous. I'm going to be sharing quarters with all of these fine ladies.
And I'm just down the street.
It's
True
gonna be
story.
Pandemonium. Pandemonium, I tell you.
True
I
story.
will have come several thousand miles for hugs with you guys. I hope you know.
Yes.
So,
And you all have a homework to like report to us who can't come.
Oh, we
Everything
will.
that's happening.
Oh, there'll be plenty of coverage of Con of Thrones. Trust me.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And JR, are you going to be fighting me this year?
Yes, I guess we'll have to get into fighting Pizza Marine. We'll give it a go round.
All
Oh
right.
my gosh.
Amanda, I've been coming for you since last year. I didn't get to fight you last
You had the opportunity.
I
You
know I was
didn't take it.
meeting all the great content, like the first time I ever met LML in person, the first time I ever met so many people in person.
Yeah.
So,
I
and
know, guys.
but it's happening this year. I have no illusions about actually beating you, but I'm going to bring my A game.
I'll bring mine. It'll be fun.
Steven's been training.
Your C- game, but I'm bringing it anyway.
Insert 80s training montage here.
I know.
There we go.
I'm just going to be watching from the sidelines. I'm a lover, not a fighter. No fighting for me.
There's two things I want to say, like, for example, like in this fandom, like kind of like we say like, well, critical, more like about the thinking person and like the critical sense. Like it kind of reminds me of when I go see my grand uncles. Yeah, when I see my grand uncles, and like with their families, they are like kind of like in a Torah discussion, and it's basically like what we do. Like we have the author's statements, and they have like the kind of like gospel, but like this dogma. Yeah, it's kind of like an author statement is kind of like a dogma, and then they have like the whole discussion because they have like this saying like if you have an argument but like you cannot put it to the test of other people trying to pick up apart with thank you Stephen, that's like basically you don't have an argument at all. And like they in Spain they had like this saying, I don't know, like to use three opinions basically, like because they like to argue a lot. And second is like about what we were talking about, discrimination. Like this is a story, like the story in A Song of Ice and Fire is a story about discrimination. Like that's what the author said, like bastards bastards and broken things.
Cripples,
like,
bastards, and broken things. Yes.
That's why we see like why John like had to be like didn't grow up in a palace, like had to be grow up like he was the odd one out, like because if then like kind of like with Stannis, like Stannis in a way like yes he's a lord, he has everything, but he's discriminated against because he lacks social skills, and in a way like doesn't want to play the praise game to the lords, to the other lords, and in a way
from the point of view of like fandom, Emilio, I need to come on your channel sometime and tell you all about why I hate Stannis. And you can defend him, and I think I don't hate Stannis, for the record. I find him to be likable. Not likable. An enjoyable character to read, but not a likable person.
I mean, but like the thing is, like if we judge persons of who we would want to be in like real life, like for example, Ned is unarguably a good person, but like if you look at his statements to Arya, like oh, your sons are gonna be high septons, and like that is a sexist statement, like in a way.
Yeah, Ned is far from flawless. He's got
so that's why
my channel last year will tell you that I kind of deconstructed Ned and his honor last year.
Yeah, like if we say like, for example, I'm like Sansa is my second female favorite character, and it's kind of like in a way she's kind of like a person I want to be like, and like some things she has that I lack, that I say wow, I mean she's amazing, and like people like can't forgive her for being tricked by Cersei and Littlefinger and Varys. You know?
Yeah, I'm a defender.
And I'm like,
on that.
what about Jaime? Like the guy who basically just shoved a little guy from a window, you know? Like if we can forgive him, we can forgive Sansa in a way. And what I was saying, sorry about kind of Stannis, like when we see the Proud Wing speech, like everyone is telling him like, you don't have to be the way you are. And I think the Proudwin speech is like really fine. And kind of in a way, one of the reasons he goes to the wall, in my opinion, and why George says like he's a righteous person, and like when he decides to change, because he kind of like changing is difficult, and not just changing like saying I'm more aware of this, and because kind of like I sometimes have that problem, and I'm like, and then I realize in my mind maybe I'm not that aware, I'm just learning still, and kind of like what he realizes, like he has the cart before the horse. He realizes I'm wrong. He was trying to so much to go after his rights instead of saying like, well, this possessed people, this whole people that need to be protected, that I need to put their interest before me, like kind of like Daenerys does when he marries his Startolora. I'm
sorry, no, you just made an interesting point in the chat. Very few black and white characters, if any at all, in the story, and I have to agree with you, which is again reflective of the human beings that are also part of the fandom. Like I've had interactions.
I mean, but
I'm not trying to out anybody, but I've had interactions with some people where I've stuck my foot in my mouth. You know, we all can do that occasionally, especially in text format where intonation can be difficult to get across, or you just don't necessarily see the world through the same lens. So you might say something that might upset someone, and I've literally done it. And but again, the proper way to do that is to not double down on that and be like, I didn't do anything wrong. It's to be apologetic and say, oh, I've learned something from this moment, and move on. You know, again, I'm not trying to out anybody, but there's people that I'm close with now, even that I've probably offended in the past, just through my own ignorance or my own short-sightedness. But
that's the nature of a relationship. That's how it grows. It has to be fractured to grow stronger, right? I mean, it's kind of a pretty basic principle.
Yeah, I mean, and kind of like I was seeing like my mother was seeing like some kind of drama of epoch, like in the dictatorship, and like what I was saying, like, well, like how is it a very kind of like a misogynistic society if every character in the story seems to be feminist, right? And it's kind of kind of like, for example, females, like, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of like, it seems like man explaining this, but like they have to deal with subconscious sometimes sexism from loved ones, from friends, and from people they care about. And for example, me, I have like friends, and sometimes they do some jokes about like whatever, and I understand they are not trying to offend me, or like they are not doing it on a bad way, but like for me it's different, like the experience, you know, because it's kind of like what Tyrion was saying about like the dwarf jokes in the show. Like everyone thinks like they are original, but like when you kind of like, it gets to a point, like for example, when I was 7, I heard like all the Jews and Basque jokes. I heard them all, you know, as a kid. So kind of like in a way, like, but I also offended other people, or like, for example, like when we were in a stream, I said another word instead of sex worker, you know, and I realize now, and I go back and I feel terrible about it still, you know, but kind of like oppression works like that when it's not like intentional. It's not something that you do like as a bad act. It's something that you do like you kind of screwed up.
I got to cut in for just a second. Wait, was there just a costume change that happened?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Just checking. Okay. Just checking. Okay, I thought I saw something going on there. Is that like your St. Patrick's Day costume, or
it's Saint Baratheon?
Like these horns are far too loose. They'll flop around. Without this, they'll just slide right off.
Okay, just checking.
No, and kind of like it goes into a way where I think, like, for example, like Daenerys, and like we are so obsessed. Like I think as a fandom, we're obsessed with Rhaegar, and I think he's a foil for Robert. Like none of them was like the right man to come out of the trident, in my opinion. And I kind of think like Daenerys is kind of like, and Daenerys, Stannis, and Jon are kind of like the important part, the important ones of the spells, because they were the ones that were discriminated against. And as they were discriminated against, they are the ones that kind of like know what is like the rights to be taken by someone, and then they care about other people. Because I've seen people saying Dany's a psychopath, and even like fellow Stannis fans, and I'm like, I mean, maybe in the show she looks like one because like the art direction is bad, but like, but I think she's, I really like Daenerys, and I think she's a great person, and she cares about like everyone, and she's trying to do the right thing, and sometimes like I said, unintentionally she blunders, and that's kind of like the problem. Like we have to be like what you said, like it's not always your job to tell other people, but I try to, because I know like they don't, most of the people that say those things to me aren't, like you say, like aren't bad people about it. Like it might seem like really racist to me or like really bad for me.
Emilio, I'm starting to feel like this side character conversation is starting to dominate the stream, and I kind of want to steer this back towards.
Yeah. Sorry, I will move on.
I know if I didn't know you were going to go on passionately about your character love, I wouldn't invite you. You're always welcome, but I'm always going to be the guy trying to point it back towards the main topic too. Love you, buddy. Amanda, you've been quiet for a while. You got anything you want to bring up?
No, I'm just really excited for Con of Thrones. Expression
of fandom.
Yes, the ultimate expression. So, and I know that there's lots of people that aren't able to make it, but with the prequels that are going to happen, hopefully they're going to continue doing this for a few more years to come, which is my hope. And I'm very excited for the prequels. And that's another great thing about fandoms, is they try to kind of extend it. Even though Game of Thrones is ending, they're talking about moving forward with prequels. And I'm incredibly excited about The Long Night, because that's what I'm a fan of, is The Long Night. So
for somebody who came into the deep fandom through History of Westeros, and then found that my true niche in the fandom, in LML's little corner, like, how could I not love the idea of a Long Night TV show? That's just perfect.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that. And so, it just seems like there's just all kinds of exciting things that are going to keep on happening, and I can't wait for it. Now we've got a few more people that are going to be going to Con of Thrones, and I know that you're going to be on a couple of panels. What panels are you going to be on, Stephen?
Okay, so I'm doing a panel with Sarah Charles called I think we're calling it "There's Something About Maesters." Then I'm also doing a panel with Shakes of Thrones and the Windy Nerd called Honor in Westeros, and then I'm doing one with Joe Magician, Pat Spinagle, and a few other. And they combined ours with a panel that had 3 ladies on it. I can't remember. I think
Maester Mary,
Shakes, and somebody. I can't remember off the top of my head, but that one is it's all about guest right.
Mm-hmm. It's a good one. Guest
right, Honor in Westeros, and Maesters. You're doing panels too, aren't you?
Is the guest right one? Is that with Lady Shar or Anissa?
Oh yeah. That's the third lady, is Questing Beast.
Okay, there we go.
I didn't see Shar's name on there, but that doesn't mean she's not on there.
I'm sorry, going click happy on my mic here. Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was Questing Beast or if it was Lady Shar. So
yeah,
that is awesome. Melanie, are you on any panels?
I am, and I would have to look at this spreadsheet because I'm so confused between Con of Thrones and Ice and Fire Con. I know that at Ice and Fire Con, I am going to be on the Green Zombies panel with LML and Silas Toms. And I think I have another one, and I better go look and do my research. Oops, I can't ever. It's just so much I can't keep it straight.
And it's all coming down so quick too.
Yeah.
Yeah. JR, I'm sure you're on quite a few, right?
Yeah, I've got a couple of panels this year at Con of Thrones with Gemma and Kyle and Con Snow. We're doing a PTSD in Westeros panel.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that one should be a good one. We've done a live stream on it, and Gemma, of course, has a mental illness one that she did. Who's in the chats saying hi to everybody.
Hi, Gemma.
And then we're also doing one with Kyle, myself, Gemma, and Gray Area are doing one on the comedy in Westeros, and mostly the dark comedy side of it is what I'm going to put forward on that. But there's a couple other ones that are coming down the pipeline, and people are asking to come on their panels as well. So,
Very cool.
And if anybody out there wants to get on a panel or wants to submit for a panel, you have until Wednesday.
Yeah,
Wednesday is
Get on it.
last day.
midnight tomorrow is when they close it. Midnight tomorrow night. Midnight Eastern.
I thought it was the 15th. Did they change it?
13th.
13th.
The 13th. Oh, okay.
It is.
Okay, so it would be Wednesday. You're right, JR. Wednesday.
Yep.
Very cool.
But I'm on 3, and that's plenty.
Yes, it can get to be a bit daunting after a while when you look at how many panels you're actually doing. Going, oh my god.
Amanda, are you doing any panels?
I'm doing one panel. I got a couple invitations that I actually turned down because
Yes, mine.
There's a couple more. Okay, I'm sorry. I just wanted to do one that I really had my heart on, and so I'm really glad that I did get the one. It's going to be on the Age of Heroes. So it's going to discuss the Long Night in the Age of Heroes and the prequel. So that's one that I really wanted. It's going to be with LML and Quinn from Ideas of Ice and Fire, and it should be a good one. So it's going to be that. And then I'm going to be doing my best con work in the audience, drinking wine from my purse. So and having fun with my friends and fighting in the Marine pits. So that, that's we all con in different ways. And I kind of have a good time just being one of the guys. So yeah.
One of us.
They are. Emma, are either of you doing panels?
So I was on an application for one. I'm not entirely sure if that's been selected or not. But if I'm on that, I'm doing one. If not, then I'm not on a panel. Just because I wasn't. It's the first time I've been to America. It's the first time I'm meeting you guys, and I'm not sure what my anxiety will be doing. So I don't want to promise to do something, and then all of a sudden my brain decides to be a little shit. So I don't want to.
What panel was that you applied in?
So it's queer female representation. So if I haven't heard anything from Gretchen, so the Bard and Melanie and I sort of applied for it. I have no idea what the outcome of that is or not.
That's a great topic, though. That's a great topic. I hope they root it through, because I would really. I'm there unless it conflicts with one of my panels.
Yeah, so I really hope. I also have not heard, and also I know that Amanda and Mary and I and Gretchen were also thinking about the Nissa one.
Yeah,
I haven't heard back. So
I thought that Gretchen submitted for it. And if that does get picked up, then I will be on a second one.
That'll be good.
But yeah, so there is another one that's been submitted. So
cosplayers, we have a lot to say.
So much to say, and it's so hard to keep it all in 50 minutes. All the Word docs that are getting open right now, and everything else are Google Docs to share ideas and stuff. Man, it gets to be a lot.
Yeah, 3 is enough for me. Aziz does 10 or 12 a year. I don't know how.
Aziz is a machine.
Yeah.
Aziz,
oh my gosh.
Last year he had 16 panels. It was insane.
I think 13 last year.
Was it? Oh, man.
Yeah, but still, that's crazy, because it's not just 13 panels. It's also the YouTube movie. It's also trying to put socializing time and time to go to the bathroom and eat and stuff. That's why I hope they give me one a day, and fairly early, so that I can just get wasted after that and enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, well, that's one way to do it.
Solid plan.
Yep, I see no issues in this planning whatsoever.
So I would like to bring back, the idea of like, okay, so what about Con of Thrones is going to be the highlight of your fandom experience at Con of Thrones? That is my question to you guys.
That's a really excellent question, Mel.
Thank you. Think about it. I know that.
Mine for last year is really easy. I actually I threw a party last year because I live right outside of Dallas, and the con was in Dallas. So I threw Texas barbecue for everybody that I was kind of acquainted with. And man, if it comes back to Dallas next year, we're going to need like 100 people's worth of food because everybody's coming, you know.
100 roast pigs.
I mean, I had food for 25 people, and you know,
Yes.
it was a blast. But yeah, that was what will be my highlight this year. I don't know. I don't really care about the actors. I'll tell you what my highlight this year will be: standing victorious over a defeated Amanda in the sword fight.
I wish you good fortunes in the wars to come.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
I just want people to fight me. That's all.
Fight me.
It's not fun standing around with the sword in your hand, like trying to like get people to fight you.
Well, you beat, like, I literally think I watched you beat every one of the staff workers that were selling all the kit. I think I single-handedly watched you beat all of them, so that was kind of fun. And that was throughout the weekend. Like,
Mom,
Amanda!
she can't help herself. She just can't.
I love it. You know, one thing you could do, Amanda, is just like drop your sword a lot. Just be like, oh, you know.
Yeah.
And like fool people into taking you on. I mean, just a thought.
I dropped my sword. Oh, excuse me.
What is that? The bend and snap?
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Oh, no.
bend and snap.
There will be no bending and snapping.
Oh my God.
You can shark somebody though, Amanda. I've seen you fight. You're pretty dang fierce.
Dude, no, do the Princess Bride and switch from your left hand to your right hand. Or your offhand to your strong hand.
Oh, yeah.
You can pull that one. That'll work.
That might work. There you go. There you go. I actually want to go to, so Forged Foam is the people that actually show up to Con of Thrones, and they sell different foam items for different like LARP and role-playing stuff. And I got a sword at the last one, which is totally cool. But I'm thinking about like shilling out some big dollars for my own shield too. So when I go to Con of Thrones, I may be spending an extra $60 on carry-on fees for my sword and my shield.
Yeah,
I don't even know if they'll let you carry that on.
They don't. You have to check it.
Yeah,
you have to check it, and then it's considered a piece of luggage. And so, like, depending, like my carrier, it was like $30 just to get my sword onto the, you know.
See, the shield they should let you carry on, but you can't carry on the sword.
Yeah, but the dimensions of the shield is not going to fit underneath the seat or in the.
I reject the reality and substitute my own. Amanda carries a shield on the plane, or this flight goes nowhere.
So this is what I was doing today. This is what I was working on today.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm painting it right now, and I'm going to try to finish it with a Valyrian steel pattern. But it needed repainting, and yeah, you bring up foam swords. I'm like, yes, I was working on it literally today.
All right, so if LML has Foam Keeper, what's the name of your sword going to be?
This is the foam that cuts the tinfoil.
Oh, okay. I like it. He's got a name.
Yeah, it does. It reflects my my skeptical.
Naming swords.
Lots of swords have names.
Yeah.
Or what is it? Lots of people name their swords. Yeah.
Yeah. Lots of cunts.
Lots of cunts.
That line for me.
Just T-balling that one up for us, right?
Oh, Panda, that's a great name. He says I should name my sword Occam's Razor.
Ha! That'd work perfect.
I like it.
Tinfoil cutter.
I like it too.
You're getting some other names in there.
Yep, tinfoil cutter. Yeah. But I just like the idea of the sword that cuts the tinfoil. I am the watcher on the walls and all that stuff.
Mama Ogre, yes, I don't have my tinfoil hat. I'll bring it to con, though, and make sure that it doesn't get cut. I'll protect it.
Maybe Green Man spoil because you have quite the Green Man symbolism.
Yeah, this is literally like early stage pieces of my hippie Garth Greenhand cosplay that I'm putting together.
That's fantastic. I forgot you were doing that. Is anybody else cosplaying? Just out of curiosity.
I might.
Oh, heck yeah.
Heck yeah. Everybody. So some, yes, no. And Emma coming over from UK, I'd imagine not, because you don't want to check everything and figure it all out.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not going to be doing any cosplay. Well, I'm stopping in New York for a few days before, and then it's like my mum's hen party the weekend before that. So I've got like so many outfits to have to carry around with me for like a week and a half.
I'm sure Cersei dress is appropriate at a dinner party and at Con of Thrones. I think there's some crossover here.
And at a nightclub in Manchester.
So I want to take Emma to a country bar and have her ride on a. I want to. And I want her to ride a mechanical bull.
I was going to say, if Emma doesn't ride the mechanical bull, it's not even worth the trip.
I know.
We need to have karaoke too, so we can sing karaoke together.
Yes.
Okay, well, we can certainly fix this.
And I'll sing Billy Ray Cyrus. Don't tell my head, my empty hollow head. You know I wouldn't understand.
Oh boy.
Okay, I'm done subjecting you to that. I'm sorry.
That was great. I love it.
No. I
keep going.
Don't worry.
I just cringe every time I hear Cyrus.
I actually can sing. I just have to be like standing up and not goofing around, you know.
Oh, absolutely. And yes, we will totally find a mechanical bull for Emma to ride. We will totally, this is, I have new goals now because I've been planning get-togethers and other stuff for after events. So yes, this will be on my list now. Emma, you're in trouble. We are finding you a mechanical bull. If I have to rent one and put it in a VFW, you will ride a mechanical bull.
Google search mechanical bull in Nashville.
It's so going to be.
Don't worry, Emma.
Hey,
I'll take care of you. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, it's going to be fine.
I mean, we then will have to you have to guys to record like these like bits like where she's riding the bull or like whatever, and then I will do like kind of like this conspiracy video like this was a skin changer symbolism.
Analysis of Emma's mechanical bull ride.
She was skin changing the bull.
Terry T just brought up a great point. Why don't we have a mechanical dragon to ride at the con? I completely agree.
Oh my god!
That might be the. Go ahead and write that down in Geek Chat 1 notes for con. Yes, we need a mechanical dragon. That's on the list now.
If it doesn't shoot flames, I'm going home.
Somebody needs to email the con organizers because that is gold. That is like pure gold really right there.
So, Milena, you've been sitting there so quietly for so long, being so.
I'm sitting here envying you all because you are going there and you will have such fun. So you need to record everything, official stuff and official stuff and partying and everything.
I think that the inside of Myth House might not be the place to film things.
Yeah, the same thing in our house. Yeah, no, there's not going to be filming on the inside.
Something private for us who are not able to be there.
Milena, I'll take private pictures of everybody while they're sleeping, and I'll send them directly.
Because that's not creepy.
No, I mean,
okay, all bets are off now. Steven.
I'm okay with just the panels.
Now nobody will sleep in Steven's house because okay, what's he's gonna do?
Yeah, good luck sleeping now, ladies.
Yeah.
As someone who can't go because I basically have classes.
Yeah.
Now, I'm okay like with just seeing the panels, and I want to thank LML and Queen and Kyle and Gemma that like upload those things for us European folk that kind of are in a faraway lands in the free cities.
I was kind of thinking and planning if I could maybe come this year, but my best friend is getting married, and so that's all out of the picture now. So next year.
Your friends can get married anytime. The con only comes once a year.
Well, that's something you have to explain to her, and she's really set on getting married.
I'm gonna let you guys in on a secret. You do realize that it's gonna be Emma's birthday during the con, right?
Oh, that's right.
Sorry, Emma. Sorry.
What is it with birthdays and cons? I mean, it's a great thing. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of people's birthdays seem to fall on cons. Last year, it was Gemma and about a half dozen other people all had birthdays on.
Yeah, literally the barbecue ended up being barbecue/birthday party.
Yeah, and Kyle's birthday is this year, like the week of con. Like, it's crazy. So Emma and Kyle's birthday, it's going to be insane.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast. Y'all, we're coming close to 2 hours, and my daughter's here visiting, so I do kind of want to spend time with this kid. I don't get to see her all the time. So, anybody got any final thoughts before we start wrapping up? I do want to say thank you to everybody who came on to talk with me today, and thanks everybody on your channel. And if anybody's got anything else, any topic they want to bring up, especially about why fandom matters, then now's your chance. Okay, crickets is a great indicator. Okay, so that having been said, I will say again, thank you, all of you, for coming. Appreciate it. I will do another. Vanessa Amesti says you look like Jenny of Old Stones. High praise. You're going to break some young prince's heart someday. Anyway, I do want to thank you all for coming, and let's just go through the list one more time. Tell everybody who you are and where they can find you. Links are in the description, but I'd like to have everybody say it out loud. So we'll start again. We'll do it in reverse order, starting from the right. Milena.
So I'm Milena. I'm on Twitter as MimaMVG38, and very soon there will be something interesting. I'm telling that for 2 months, but now it's really coming close.
Something about Targaryens and Serbian dragon people.
The legend of Serbian dragon people. I mean, they call them dragons, but they are really skin changers.
Okay, very cool. I can't wait to filter that through all of my A Song of Ice and Fire random knowledge now. Add another layer. Thanks for coming on, Melina. I do appreciate it.
Thank you, Stephen. As always, it's a pleasure.
Melanie Lot 7. Thank you again for coming on, and why don't you tell the people where they can find you?
Yeah, I'm sorry I was late. They can find work. Ugh. So I guess we have to make money somehow. What did you say, Emilio?
A wizard is never late. He's always on time.
That's true. So yeah, you can find me Melanie Lot 7 on Twitter. I am probably most active on there. And my very sad YouTube channel with only one video. I have the audio recorded for the next one, but just no pictures yet. It's gonna happen, guys. Gotta get my stuff together. And you can also find me on my WordPress site, which is also called Melanie Lot 7. You know, I just decided to make it all the same for simplicity. And yeah, I just have to say, like, guys, thank you so much. I always enjoy talking SWAF and fandom, and it's just an honor to be here. So thank you, Stephen.
You're very welcome, and thank you for coming. JR, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on the internets?
That's easy. You can always find me at Geek Chat 1. Come and join the chat with us. It's where we talk about all things fandoms. It's many fandoms and one family on there. And you can also find me on the YouTube channel by the same name. Pretty much, I pulled a Melanie Lot 7, so you can pretty much find me at Geek Chat 1 on everything.
Okay. Thanks for coming, JR.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. I'll have you back again as soon as I can get you. Emily, always a pleasure to have you here. Thanks again for coming. Why don't you tell everybody what you've been up to?
So thank you for having me on, and it's been a pleasure to chat with everyone and speak to everyone in the chat. You can find me at ELSmith1994 on Twitter and redmiceatplay.wordpress.com. I'm working on an essay on the colour symbolism of red fire and how that relates to the mythical astronomy concepts that LML and sort of everyone in the Twitteros Starry Wisdom crew are playing with. That is rocking on for about 2 years that I've been working on this, so I'm trying to make it good for you.
Always a delight to have you around, Emma. My daughter has been telling me every time I mute, she's like, I love her voice.
And by the way, guys, Emma's nails are always on fleek.
Yeah, always.
Show us your nails. So nice. Good job.
Show us again, Emma. I've got the camera locked on you. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They're not my nails. They're just stick-on ones, because if you saw my real nails, I bite them to the quick. So I have to do that to stop having hideous nails.
Whatever it takes, I guess. Okay. Again, thanks for coming, Emma.
Thank you for having me.
Emilio, why don't you tell us where we can find you?
Well, you can find me on YouTube as Stanis Arcanine. On Reddit, I'm not usually that active. Only when I finished writing something, I post it there. Well, when I have to, when I will finish, sorry. And I also have it on on Westeros. No, and also have on the Asoya forum, and on Twitter and YouTube is where I'm most active, and I'm Stanis Arcanine there. And basically, come talk with me there, and I'll be glad to have you. And if any one of you guys want to come to my channel, especially, I'm looking at anyone that kind of knows a lot about mythology, because I'm kind of want to do the mythology of the Empire of the Dawn. And I will do either the Rightful King essay or the Riddle of Steel essay that I'm doing with the Nisa Nisa story, and whichever one I'll finish first, I post first. If not, if I'm running out of time, I probably do something about explaining why I think Brienne is extremely underrated in some aspects that we don't actually come to the discussion. And you're all invited to my channel whenever I'm doing something.
Great. I'm inviting myself on your next stream right now.
Yeah. You're
Emilio,
kind of like my co-host, in a way.
Once again, though, Emilio, this is our 4th time working together, something like that. And it's always great fun to work with you. And thanks for coming on, man.
I mean, it's fun for me too.
And last but not least, the wonderful Amanda, Crowfood's daughter. Tell everybody who you are, what you do, and where to find you.
So yes, thanks for having me, Stephen. I do have a YouTube channel. It's called The Disputed Lands. And you can also find me on Twitter at crowfood_SD. I do have a video coming out that I'm working in collaboration with Joe Magician. And I've actually had it written for a little while now. So I'm kind of waiting to put everything together and publish at the same time. So we're shooting for Friday, and so be looking out for that. And it's going to be covering House Strong, and I'll be talking about possibly some ties to Dunk. So be looking out for that. And after that, I'll be working on a video on the origin of Valerians. But in an hour at 7 p.m. Mountain, you'll if you want, you can catch me with the podcast that drinks and knows things. And I will be drinking whiskey and talking about season 7, episode 5, Eastwatch.
So you're going live again in an hour?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
With alcohol.
Alcohol. Well, good luck to that.
Yeah.
Amanda, again, always a pleasure to have you or to hang out with you. I'm a patron of Amanda. At the level where I get to have monthly chats with her. And there's one coming up. For those of you, there's still time to get in at the appropriate level. Just go to Amanda's Patreon because she's amazing. And one last thing before we go. I'm a fan of my daughter, and my daughter is a fan of me, and we have a super secret handshake.
Ow.
We're going to say, Later, y'all. And thanks everyone for coming. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.